Okay, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Tiffany, please take the roll.
Councilwoman Garvey.
Present.
Councilman Brennan.
Present.
Councilman Bundy.
Present.
Councilman Green.
Present.
Mayor Sykes.
President, let the record reflect that we do have a quorum for Monday, May 8th, 2023 meeting. We're going to jump right into the presentation. Presentation by Chief Thompson recognizing individuals for life-saving awards. So Chief, with that, the show is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, good evening. Before I jump into the Life-Saving Awards, I do have one side award I want to present. We had a young officer who recently went to the academy, got off the field training program, and so far we think we're going to keep him. Jury might still be out on that, but we'll see. Seth, come on down here.
So Paul, did you have a comment for this nice officer?
No, I do not.
Uh-oh. Something I should know. So it's a completion of this field training officer program for Seth West. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Officer West, hang on. So you got to introduce yourself to the people that don't know you.
You do.
Hello, I'm Seth West. I was born and raised here, so I don't know. Some of you guys may know me. There's not much to me. So yeah, good to meet everyone.
Thank you, Seth.
And he's usually that reticent in the hallway of the station. So if I could have the following individuals come on up front, and if you'd form a line over there by our fair counsel. Sergeant Josh Martinez, Corporal Kyle Rollins, Deputy First Class Michael Dunn, Deputy Josh Strong, Officer Daniel Heath, and Officer Seth West. So I'll read the entire citation. Excuse me. For outstanding police performance on February 3rd, 2023, while serving as a deputy with Elmore County Sheriff's Office or the Mount Home Police Department. In the very early morning hours of February 3rd, 2023, dispatch received a 911 call of an unconscious 65-year-old male who was not breathing on the floor of his garage at a residence in the northwest portion of Mount Home, Idaho. The named officers here responded to the scene. Deputy First Class Michael Dunn and Deputy Josh Strong of the Elmore County Sheriff's Office were nearby and responded to assist. The city officers, Sergeant Martinez, Corporal Rollins, Officer Heath, and Officer West also responded. West was an FTO with Corporal Rollins at the time. Deputies Dunn and Strong arrived first and immediately began to assess the patient and began CPR in him. Sergeant Martinez retrieved his AED device from his vehicle and began to activate the device. After a few moments, Sergeant Martinez relieved the deputies, began CPR on the patient, while Corporal Rollins cut the patient's shirt and placed AED pads on the patient. Sergeant Martinez continued CPR on the man for several minutes while Corporal Rollins operated the AED device. Paramedics arrived on scene, relieved Martinez, and continued life-saving efforts. A short time later, Officer West and Officer Heath both relieved the paramedics and continued CPR on the patient. Corporal Rollins went back in FTO mode and continued training young Officer West on the call they were on at the time. The patient was later transported to a hospital in Boise where he did recover. Medics on scene later commended the officers and the deputies for their excellent job and said their quick response was definitely helpful in the life-saving efforts. So thank you all for your professionalism and your actions that night. The other thing to it is the Mount Home PD Life-Saving Award, a plaque, the citation that I just read. Oops, it's going to escape on me. And the red and white life-saving medal. Each one has the bar with no stars, which indicates it's the first award for each officer. Sergeant Martinez. Congratulations. Corporal Rollins, same citation and award. Congratulations. Deputy First Class Michael Dunn. Congratulations. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Deputy Josh Strong. Congratulations, Josh. Very well. Yes. Officer Daniel Heath. Congratulations, Dan. Thank you. And Officer Seth West.
Thanks.
Congratulations. Again, thank you all very much. I think Amy's going to take you outside and get more pictures if you don't mind staying with your families. Thank you all the families for coming today as well.
Hang on a sec, guys, really quick. Really quick. Hey, it doesn't go unnoticed what you guys do. And what's cool on behalf of the city is that we have county brothers in blue, right? Mountain Home's a little different. We stand for the flag with our hand over our heart when the national anthems play, and we definitely back our blue brothers and sisters. So to me, you guys do great work, and I know it doesn't. We don't say it enough, but thank you for what you guys do. Okay, thank you.
You guys can answer. Talk to you two real quick.
Yes.
To you too.
Personal copies and places I love this. And Mayor, if it's all right, we'll step outside for a few minutes.
Absolutely, sir.
Oh, baby.
You guys want to say anything?
Hey, just want to let you know I taught him swim lessons.
He was on my track team.
Who was?
CPR part.
Seth, I'd
You
say.
can't leave. Stick around.
He'll say he probably want on.
Running back.
Was he? All 100 pounds of him?
Yeah, he's fast.
Must have been fast.
Get low and go.
And that's about how much you normally talk.
Oh, really? Pretty quiet, humble kid, huh? All right, while everyone piles out here, we're going to run down to the presentation update on Well 17 by Keller's Association. With that, James and team.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and introduce. This is Jordan. Jordan Crane's kind of my right hand when it comes to a lot of the things we do, both from the water planning as well as the design. He's been pretty involved with all of the drilling activities and design. Hopefully we get that up so you can see it there, but I think you each have a handout as well, and I apologize for the council person on the phone who doesn't have a copy of this. We can provide them a PDF or. But I'll try to cover all the content that's in that's discussed.
Councilwoman, I'm going to go scan you and email you this presentation.
Great, thank you so much.
Is that a touch screen?
Yeah.
Wow. Fancy.
If it wasn't, that would be more entertaining.
Yeah.
I think we saw the example at your office.
I've been trying to touch the screen and we don't
Was
have
it number
fancy
3?
stuff.
Well, that's the one it was, but it wasn't popping up.
I can try replug and see if it sees it.
There you go.
Oh, that's just
So it is drag your screen.
that must be
Okay.
your.
So you can duplicate. Okay, yeah. There you go.
All right, James.
Great.
No show, bud.
There we are. So I appreciate the time. We'll just give you a quick update. This update is going to focus on really the well drilling and the production capacity that we're hoping to get out of the well. So Mike, I've been doing work with the City of Mountain Home with wells for like about 20 years now, and every well is a total unpredictable event. So I mean, seems like everything we've ever done in Mountain Home comes with some type of unforeseen, unanticipated circumstance, and this is par for the course, I guess.
We're gonna
So-
remember that for number 18.
So this well, we were targeting 2,000 gallons a minute. We were looking to go southeast for the city because there really aren't any wells in that direction, and the goal is to have a more even distribution of your sources. We know we could get a lot of water on the west side of town, but if you put a lot of water there, you also got to get a lot of pipes, transmission all the way around town to be able to get those distributed. You've already had issues with pressure bubbles and a lot of improvements to try to mitigate some of those concerns. So this was targeting southeast. We knew there were some higher producing wells a little bit further south with Hofer and Freer wells. And so this was the goal was to get in there and get what we could. And what we found was an unusual circumstance. About several hundred feet below the ground, you can see there was like about 600 feet below the ground, there was this like cavern area. And very uncommon. I don't think Mark Hiddleston, who does a lot of drilling around here, has seen this very often, and Chuck Brockway, who is our hydrogeologist, he's our subject matter expert on drilling and all things subsurface, encountered this. So we weren't anticipating that, so that was one unforeseen condition. And then when we hit sand at the bottom, that was sort of an not totally unexpected, but also not expected per se either. So we got to this position, we did some pump testing, and what we found was it was okay producing well, and with some fairly high drawdown and a lot of sand. So if you see kind of what we have on the right here, there's this diagram that shows the sand production as a concentration as a result of the production capacity. So anytime you get above about 5, you're exceeding what we would really want in the system. And if we can keep it below 5, even better. I think even at 5, you might get some people complaining about, and when I say 5 parts per million. So if you broke up your water into 1 million parts, 5 of those might be little sand granules, and the other 999,995 would be water. So, but it's enough that it's a concern. Not liking my screen here, and so we looked at what were some of our options, and both for maybe increasing the capacity and then dealing with the sand. And so one of the things we did was, we said, well, before you spend, because to get more production and potentially reduce the sand, one of the options we explored was we could drill deeper. We can get into that sand because we got a little ways into that first sand layer at the bottom, about 800 feet, and the hole kind of collapsed in on itself. So we knew we couldn't keep it open enough to be able to put something in there, but it seemed like there was a lot of water in there. So what we did is we worked with the city previously. This has been several months now, a couple months, and we plugged off the lower level and repeated the test. So that way we could tell how much water was coming from the top versus the bottom. And by doing that, you'd know whether or not you'd want to invest in that water in the bottom, because to get that water in the bottom is, you'll see a little bit later, you're going to spend about $500,000. And what we found was the production went down and the sand content went way up. It was so sandy when we tried to pump at higher rates that it actually locked the pump. So we knew that if at the very least we weren't going to leave it in the condition it is currently. So at this point we really have a few options where we'd want to go, and those include drilling it deeper or restoring it to the condition it was in, and then also maybe a couple different versions with the sand. When we look at what we can anticipate we can get if we were to drill deeper, we feel like instead of getting that 800 gallons a minute that's somewhat sand free, we could likely get closer to that 1,400 to 1,700 gallons a minute in that combine with the upper level and the lower level. So that's again, this is something Brockway helped do with the production analysis that's in his specialty. And then so we looked at, well, here are our options moving forward. We could remove the plug and go back to where we were, install a sand separator, and in that case, we were probably looking at about $500,000 over the life of the project. It's not all at once. There'd be added O&M costs with power and maintenance associated with maintaining a sand separator for the next 20 years, but still a cost of around $500,000 and a production rate of maybe about 800 to 1,000 gallons a minute. The next option was to remove the plug and install a casing and screen down hole. This would be lower production, certainly an option that could be pursued, but again, it's going to be probably more in that 800 to 1,000 gallons a minute. And so the next option is what we're exploring, and that is going deeper. And right now we show a range of 535 to 585 is what we're getting between Brockway and Mark Hiddleston as far as what that cost will be. We're optimistic we can get that maybe down below 500 with some, as we explore some other options, and also try to find some real value or some economy of scale maybe with the sand. So Brockway's giving, or Hiddleston's giving us an estimate of about $380,000-ish for doing the work and putting the screens in, but we're looking at like over $100,000 in sand to put down between the outside of the screen and the outside of the hole. And part of that is there's just that cavern. It just takes about a huge amount of sand. It just kind of goes in, and you can imagine kind of the sand dunes sort of just floating out there to fill in all that void in that cavern to be able to provide the filter around the screen. So again, we're looking at options of how we can maybe optimize that and save some costs, but that's where we're at. At this point, I guess entertain any questions you might have about the well, and then hoping to get direction, maybe authorization to proceed down the course of the preferred alternative, which at this point we'd recommend the more expensive option, which is going to get you more production.
So currently there's well casing in there, right?
So right now you have well casing.
675 feet?
Yes.
Okay. And so that was 675 feet. The quote, was it like 450,000 to drill it, put the casing in for that first go around?
Yes.
So why is it going to cost me 380,000
great question.
more to go 200 feet? That makes absolutely no sense.
To go, it's more like
There is
like 100 and,
oh, I'm sorry, there is no casing right now. It's just an open hole.
oh, so there's no casing then.
Yeah, there is no casing.
So this is added cost. The 380 is the casing, and to go down the other 200 feet.
Yeah, and the screen and go. It's not even 200 feet. It's more like 50 to 80 feet.
Yeah. So it's, yeah.
So, and what a lot of that cost is super expensive to get that lower level. And the reason they have to put in casing the whole length to be able to just drill and drive.
Right.
So once they get all that in, then they have to take that casing all out, and then they put in screen, or the other way around. They put the screen in and then pull the casing out, so that they can can construct it. So that's really why it's so expensive, is because the method of construction. You can't just go stick the screen down there without putting in, 900 feet of casing.
Councilman Brennan?
This has been like one of the toughest decisions for me, right? And because everything we're doing essentially is an unknown. Do I understand it correct that if we drill deeper, we don't know if we're going to truly hit more water or?
We have some reasonable confidence that we will have more, and the reason we know is because we tested it. We tested it when we had just an open bottom, and it had a lot more flow than when we plugged off the bottom. So that tells us that there's water down there.
What was that difference again in the flow?
So that's, let me see if I can.
It was on the second page.
Yeah.
Under item 2B.
Okay.
With the open hole open at the bottom, it was about 6.3 gallons per foot of drawdown. And then if you look down at 4C, where the bottom of that hole was plugged, the drawdown went to about 4 gallons a minute per foot of drawdown. So about a little more than 2/3 or a third of the water was coming from
Just the open hole on the bottom.
Okay.
So
And then,
by opening that up, we'll have a lot more surface area. We can get a lot more water in from the bottom.
in that meeting I sat in, I don't remember the term. Is it like red clay or something that once you hit that, you're done?
Yeah, so at some point we'll hit the clay layer that's below the gravelly material that's at the bottom. And once we hit that, it's done. So we know that we should be able to go at least 20 feet because they went about that far when it collapsed in on them and they had to extract it. But it could be 25, it could be 50, it could be 80, but the goal would be to go as far down as you can until you hit that clay layer. But even the estimates that Brockway did, he was pretty conservative in assuming only 20 additional feet when he did the projection for the 1,500 gallons a minute. So it's very likely you'll get that kind of water. The size of the hole is going to limit it to not be able to get too much more than 1,500 gallons a minute because of the screen and what kind of pump you can get in there. But the more water you can get in, the less drawdown it'll be, and more reliable it'll be for the long term as well.
In that estimated 20 feet, they really think they'll be able to get rid of or reduce the amount of sand that's in there?
Yeah, so the sand reduction will come from the screen that they put in. So they put in a screen, and then they'll put between the screen and the outside of the wall, they will put a special sand that basically acts like a filter. And that sand will hold the sand that's already in the formation or the gravel in the formation to form what they call a filter pack. And so that holds the material out, allows the water to filter in.
That question was asked at our meeting. Does that sand on the outside not plug up over the course of 10 years or whatever, where now we're plugged up entirely?
It certainly can reduce over time, but usually when you design those, it's to make a permanent solution. So there's a lot of wells. In fact, when you get outside of Mount Home and you go to like Treasure Valley, like every well has a screen and a filter pack. It's pretty common practice to design your wells in that way. And if you get slow the velocities down enough, then you're not pulling the sand from the formation. So it kind of gets into an equilibrium condition.
So council, there's 3 options, and James, what your recommendation is option 3?
My recommendation is option 3.
Rich, you got any weigh in on it?
Nope, that's listening to everything that we've talked about in different meetings and all the information that they brought. That's probably the way to go. I mean, we're trying to get as much water as we can, so that extra 20 feet, that's where they feel the water is, just to get that extra 400, 500 gallons per minute.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bundy?
So we have this, Paula, we already have this in enterprise fees.
Yes. Okay.
We're using grant dollars.
Oh, are we?
Already, the 4.2 million plus our ARPA fund match.
Plus our match.
Okay.
That's a combination.
And if it goes over, we have
nothing in enterprise.
Okay, so we're using some grant money right now, and then if we run over, then we have.
I'm
Okay.
down there with you. Oh my God.
Mayor?
You can
Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
Did I hear you correctly that the solution you're recommending does not include the price of the sand that has to backfill?
That 500 range does include the sand.
It does include that sand.
This is everything all in.
Yeah.
So there, Mayor
This isn't the most expensive well we've done, right?
No, I don't think
Mr. Gary well was more expensive?
I don't know. All I know is, if you knew how much it was going to cost from the get-go, you'd probably say, let's do something different, right? But you're at this point where you've gone here, and everything you've done to date is sunk costs. And so it's like, would I spend that little extra to get that much more? And I would say yes, it's worth it at that point.
Mayor and Council, how does this work into the grant timeline?
So we've been working closely with the grant agencies, and we've basically broken the project into two parts. So we got the notice to proceed today to proceed with the pipeline. So we are good there, and what we've communicated to them is by this fall, we want to have the well house ready to design. So we want to proceed with this now so that we can get the final well design done, and then we can go immediately into the final design and construction of the well facilities.
It's not your first rodeo, James. You know I'm here to beat you up, right?
Yeah.
You already have a pump house. Take one off the shelf. Let's get the well done and rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the pipeline stuff. We got that proceeded today. We're going to start that process, but the well, I mean, it is what it is, right? So why does it take till December or next year?
So well, actually, our hope is to have it to DEQ by August. So what we want by the end of August, so that we get approval by the 1st of October and out to bid. So and what we're looking for is, and we do have a lot of things. We'll be efficient, certainly the way we do that. You know, we're not designing this, the first Ford automobile from scratch. We've got the previous version and, design, and we'll build on those, but there are certain things that we need to be able to finalize the design. For example, the pump test is going to define what pump is going to be needed. So how many stages, what parameters, all those things will be things that we can't really finalize until we have those results. But in the meantime, we do plan on proceeding, we know enough that I think with some level of certainty we can move forward with the design so that we can turn that around as quickly as possible.
So is this a rolling building, or is it a permanent structure with a big top hole so we can pull the crane out?
The intention is going to be a rolling building if you proceed with the screen.
So then it doesn't matter what size pump you put in there, right? I mean, the pumps could be bigger or smaller.
Yeah,
But
that
you
might
have-
affect the height of the opening or the walls, but it's going to be fairly similar to the last one.
So, like I said, I'm here to just always pick at you.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because the pump sizes are pretty standard, other than the horsepower. I mean, they're going to be bigger around, taller.
Yeah, it's the building itself should be a lot like 16. Should be.
So we already have that one done.
Yeah.
So you're going to give me a deduction. So you just take that building plans and just bring it here, right?
Yeah, so we've already accounted for that when we gave the original fees.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in fact, what you'll save is not having to design. If you recall, we had a previous amendment with the contingency amount for if there was sand, so that we were gonna, that would be extra to do the permanent structure and put the sand stuff in, and that, fortunately, we won't have to go with that.
So that's why my department heads, I'm a results guy, right? I want to see results, and it just seems like this keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and I don't want it to mess up that grant timeline, because if that grant timeline comes out, I hope that you didn't write me a fat check if we miss that.
Yeah, no, we're very aware. We've been visiting with Marty and the grant folks and keeping them up to speed on and even like if you look at what we did with the pipeline, we understood there was a May time frame, so we put everything in high gear to expedite that while this was being resolved, so that we could break some things out and keep things going. We want what's best for Mountain Home, and if that means putting a little extra effort on our part, that's what we're going to do.
Copy that. Councilman Brennan, sorry.
You mentioned DEQ and permitting. Are we having to start over with a permit because of a deeper well?
No, this will be. It shouldn't be any issues there. DEQ will ask for an updated project or well completion report when we're done, but they'll have certain things that they'll look at in their approval process, but there's no.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, no, this is going to be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, Council, DOD had the same question. So the big thing was the water quality that they were looking at. That's passed. DEQ has the pipeline piece done. So there's kind of a couple phases with it. So the building parts, DEQ just has to say, yes, this building works. I mean, that's really what they're kind of going through.
So we'll be prepping that up for that. Yeah.
Council, what do you guys want to do?
Forward.
Which option? One, two?
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
I apologize.
You're good.
I'm a little confused. So on the agenda, this was just a presentation, not a deliberation decision. So, or an action item. Are we supposed to decide to that tonight?
Mayor, Council.
Go ahead, Rich.
It's more like, so it's kind of just which way would you guys like to move forward? They're gonna have to bring another, they'll bring a change order that'll come before you. So it's basically which way do you guys want to, how would you like us to proceed? That's kind of what the idea would be, just so what you want to do. Does that help, Councilwoman Garvey?
Yeah, I guess I just would figure that would essentially be under new business if we're trying to decide which direction, but just a thought. Thank you.
So council, what direction do you want them to go for just so they have something to bring back to the council later? Option 1, 2, or 3?
Option 3.
Option 3. All right, James.
We'll have something for you. We'll get it. Hopefully that'll be next week. Your next meeting is in 2 weeks, or do you have? Your
23rd.
Tuesday at 5 is changed.
Yeah. In 2 weeks.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday the 23rd,
Okay.
5 p.m.
Great. We'll have something for you the week before.
All right, Jordan. So am I supposed to be beating you up now?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
No hesitation.
I don't know. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you making the trek down from Boise.
Thank you.
Councilman Bennett, just know we're on exactly the line of trajectory, so we're going to answer each other's questions all the time.
We totally do that.
All right.
I actually wait.
Thanks, council.
James, we can get some.
We're gonna run down to department heads, comments and reports. We're gonna run to Brock.
Mayor, City Council, I'm just going to keep it very short. This Saturday, we are having the groundbreaking for Mountain Bound custom RV park and storage. It's going to be at 3 p.m. on site. The entire general public is invited. I don't know if you guys have seen, they're posting in like the newspaper. They're bringing out their entire team. I think it's like 25 people. They're very excited to be in Idaho and even more excited to be in Mountain Home. I know it's a Saturday. If you can be there, this is one of those we don't want to miss. We want to make sure that they know we appreciate them being there. They're very excited. They're investing a lot of money in our community. So I would just invite you to be there and make sure you pat Betsy on her back. She's doing a lot of work that day with the client at the airport and also arranging our groundbreaking. So maybe on Monday, show up with a coffee or something. So you're going to have a busy weekend.
Thanks, Brock. Shasta.
Mayor, Council, just letting you know that I am going to be posting the summer intern opening that we applied through a grant through the commission. We've done it the last 2 years, and so we're excited to do it for a third year. Also, I've sent all of you invites to the Story Stroll ribbon cutting on May 19th at noon. Please wear your walking shoes, as well as prepare for whatever Mother Nature decides to hit at us. We're excited to get that going. Also, we are postponing after-school programming during the summer months. However, we have the summer reading program, and sign-ups begin early on the 22nd. So we hope to get a good amount of kids signed up for that program. We encourage and emphasize the importance of reading during the summer months when school is out. We're also still doing story time and music and movement during the summer months, but some of our other programming we're going to postpone until September. We'll also have our teen programs going on, Teen Coders, our after hours. For instance, this month we have our after hours Nerf battle on the 18th, and we'll also have our junior hangout once a month, as well as VR coding this month. Central District Health is doing health screenings during the month as well, and I think that's it.
Shasta. Chief.
Mayor, Council, I'll be brief as well. If you have not had the chance to take a look at the Fire Station 1 parking lot and the training facility parking lot, that was just completed stripe today. Looks fantastic, so thank you for that. I'm sure both at the training facility and I know at the fire station that we're going to welcome the cleanliness that we're going to experience from just not having the gravel and so forth tracked in through the facility. So that's a good deal and it looks really nice. Departmentally, we are going to be working this month for for the remainder of this month, training-wise, we're gonna work to operations level of hazmat training. A lot of fun there. A refresher for some, new for some. But certainly something that we aspire to keep up on every 2 to 3 years. We make sure that we're up to date with our hazmat level. Other than that.
All right, thanks, Chief. Dennis, out of the fire into the frying pan, or vice versa? This.
For the rec department, we have got a lot going on. We've just finished up soccer, and we're moving on to NFL flag football. First time we've had that in our program that I'm aware of. Then we step right into t-ball, softball, and coach pitch, as well as we've got our adventure camp program coming up. That's a 10-week program during the summer. So we've got a lot of stuff going on for kids, but we've also got a lot of stuff going on for the rest of the community as well. We've got some Golden Group trips planned, and they range from whitewater rafting to Edwards Greenhouse. So we got a nice variety going on. So been very busy down there.
Perfect, thanks. Chief.
Pass the awards, Mayor and Council. I've got nothing to do.
Rich.
Mayor, council, water, they've been, last week they did their, did all the readings and all the shut-offs, that's always, the beginning of the month's always busy. Working on bringing wells online as needed. We haven't really had to get very many on because of the weather. April was kind of, I thought it was like one of the lower Aprils I've seen that we've had for pumping water, so we didn't have to pump water out of there, so. And then the farm, well, wastewater, they're, working with the farmer, getting rid of our water like we do all summer long. They went around the outside of the farm and built up the berms, so part of our DEQ stuff we need to make sure we do, so if the water stays where it's supposed to stay. And streets, they've been busy helping, last week and getting all the parking lots prepped, ready to go, and they've been patching and, they've been doing some patching things. They've been, from all the different, around the sidewalks that the URA's been doing, they've been patching up all the different curbs and things from that, fixing all the curbs, painting, been busy.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say, I noticed the patchwork in American Legion there that I called out about the huge bump. I don't know who ended up doing it eventually, but it's nice and smooth now.
Yeah, I think that I think Gene got with the company. Well, actually, he got with ITD. We figured out who it was. It was a CenturyLink or Zito, somebody that did that. They were doing something over there with the work, so they came back and fixed it. It was actually just a temporary patch, so they could come out and get a hot patch on it. So perfect, they did. Thank you for pointing that out. Appreciate it.
Jeff.
Mayor Council, I've been updating all the cemetery records, prepping for Memorial Day celebration out of the cemetery. I will be gone Wednesday and Thursday at Leadership Academy in Boise, so I will not be in the office. And then I did send you all an email, Councilman Bundy. I know you don't have your email quite yet, but in regards to the farmers market in Railroad and the letter that was administered in regards to the flea market, which was the same as we did last year, so just so you were all aware. That's it.
Mr. Bransky. Paul Fitzer.
Nothing, sir.
All right, council, got anything for the good of order? Hearing none, we'll run down to conflict of interest declaration. Has any council member received information pertaining to or otherwise had any contact with any person regarding any items on this council agenda? Please set forth the nature of said contact.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
I received an email early this morning from Brendan McCarthy for the item we're talking about on permits for allowing food vendors in the park.
Copy that.
Got the same email.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I haven't got my email set up yet, but there is an item here. I'm an employee of Mountain Home School District. It looks like there's some portable classrooms. It doesn't affect me any differently than it does anybody else in the city, so there's no conflict there.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
I received the same email from Brendan McCarthy.
Copy that. Okay. If nothing else, we'll run down the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda, council, that you want to pull, talk about, have questions on? Just need more clarification? Councilman Brennan?
Got a couple items. Item K, I really just want to talk about it for transparency to the people really quick that may be listening or tuning in, or the newspaper. Is he still here? Did he leave? He left. Is the pesky pool project is nothing but a headache, and we delayed our bid. We put it out for bid again, and lo and behold, nobody bid on it. So I'm not saying we're back to square one, but now for anybody that asks if this gets approved, we'll have the authority to just receive quotes and hire individual companies to fill any one portion of the job. And I'm gonna guess that's how we're gonna proceed. But this has been a project that has been nothing but a headache for Tiffany. For me, it's like my passion here is getting this thing done, and I just feel like I have to apologize to the citizens, even though I think it's out of my control. But just one thing after another. So we hope to get it done soon. And finally, I would like to remove items I and J from the consent agenda.
Second page.
Yep, I got it. Okay. Anything else, council? If not, then do I hear a motion to, Councilman Brennan?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to pass the consent agenda, pulling items I and J.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy, sorry.
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Got me off guard there. All right, we'll run down to new business, items removed from the consent agenda, and that's item I. Councilman Brennan, I'll let you take that one.
Mayor, for the purposes of my conversation, I'm going to combine items I and J into the same conversation. I'm going to do what I typically do, and I think is try to paint a picture with words here of how I feel about this. And I'm going to use some examples that may not exactly be like 100% perfect, but in my eyes, it's going to be the closest thing I can get to it. And so with that, I see this as packing a committee to a point that will make no difference, or it has potential to make no difference. I know our ordinance says that we must have a body of at least 5. At least 2 of them must be developers, real estate, something in that nature, and at least 2 must be none of those things, just citizens that aren't professionally employed in that kind of business. So the example I'm going to paint here is, I'd just like to say that essentially, if the Idaho Supreme Court has a body of 5 members on it that are all very, very conservative in nature, right? And I know like parties don't really apply to judges, but I'm going to say that all 5 of those conservative justices are Republicans, very conservative members, and the U.S. Supreme Court comes in and says the Idaho Supreme Court is now required to have 7 members, 2 of which must be very liberal thinkers or Democrats in that sense. And so when we have a body of 5 that and the current makeup of these 5 members are all Brock, we've all identified that they all fall under that developer, real estate, or that kind of profession, then I think adding 2 people, essentially almost like packing a court, has a large potential to have no value to putting those 2 people on there, because they will be the minority, so to speak. And I know we're not talking about the judicial system here and all that, but I think the most appropriate response to balancing out that body is to either add 4 people, add 4 more for a body of 9, or ask to see if there's any 2 members of the current body of 5, if any of them no longer wish to serve on that board, so that it's balanced. Because although we're meeting the letter of the ordinance, I don't think we're meeting the intent of the ordinance to balance that. I'm going to call it power. It's not power, but to balance the makeup of that body so that it's relatively balanced, I suppose. And when we have 5 already and adding 2 that are the opposite, I don't think that's the right approach based on the intent of our ordinance. And so, I'm gonna, if we continue as is, I'm just gonna vote against adding anybody, no matter who it is. It's not a personal attack by any means. I just don't think it's the right approach, and I think we need to keep it at 5 or go to a body of 9. And the 4, right, if we went to a body of 9, the 4 new members would all be basic, I hate to say that, I'm using the wrong term, but just citizens, and not developers, not real estate agents, so that we're providing an equal insight into the impact fee committee.
Okay. I don't know what demographic our impact fee committee is, if they're conservative, libertarian, constitutionalist, Republican, Democrat.
Again, it's not about that. It's just the picture, how I tried to paint it. I know they're not, I don't care if they're Republicans or Democrats, could care less. I just think if we have a body of 5 that are all exactly the same in terms of developers, which our ordinance says you have to have some developers and some non-developers, real estate agents, and so having a body of 5 and then just adding 2 that are the opposite, they won't be able to sway the vote or the opinion of that board.
So I'm not a developer nor a construction person, but I dabble in a little bit of construction. I dabble a little bit in real estate. So would I not be a good fit to be on that board?
You're not allowed to be.
Well, if I wasn't mayor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I guess that's what I'm saying. I think everyone has value, regardless of where they come from and whatever they have. And so let's take Brendan. He might be a crazy liberal lefty, you know what I mean? And I'm sure he's not. I'm sure he's I better shut my mouth too. But so it doesn't. I guess everybody has value, and I'm sure when he speaks to the board that he might be able to have them see his vision his way, just like James and I might not agree, or you and I might not agree, but then there's days that you and I agree, and then James and I don't agree, or Councilman Bundy, or any of us. So I think that's where adding 2 more, obviously one for said committee, to make sure we're following state statute or ordinance.
Our ordinance.
Our ordinance. I don't think it really hinders anything. Like I said, I think more is valuable. More.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
Mayor, if I may just interject really quick. So I'm reading through the 2 or more members shall not be in the business of development, building, or real estate, where Brendan McCarthy is a human resources professional and Kelly is a nurse. I think that fits our ordinance in adding these members that are not in the business of development or real estate. So regardless, so that would make 9. There's currently 6 on there. Wait, 1, 2,
6.
4, 5, 6.
8, excuse me. And that would add 2 or more individuals that are not in the interest of business of development or real estate. So I agree with what you guys are saying as far as adding those 2 people and not having them. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I apologize. I agree with the 2 people that are going to be added.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilman Bundy?
So we have 6 people currently, correct?
Correct.
And we want to add 2 people who are not currently in the real estate. Now, with the 6 people that are currently real estate, we could have disagreements, correct?
I have seen them disagree.
When you add these 2 in, I don't know that it's necessarily saying that the 2 are going to disagree with the 6. Does that make sense what I'm getting at? So you could have all 8 agree, or you could have 3 and 1 and 3 and 1. So I don't know that and maybe I'm missing what you're saying here, I don't know that the addition of the 2 non-real estate people was meant as a check and a balance. It kind of is, but they could also agree on every issue or disagree. So I don't know that we're stacking a court or we're trying to create a court with a 5-4 or 6-2. But and I get your analogy. It was a good analogy, but you've already got potentially disagreements within the 6 people in the industry, and they've got 2 people outside the industry. That sometimes a fresh look might be good. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
So council, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to approve the 2, move forward, not approve them? What do you guys want to do?
I will make a motion to approve the 2 additional members.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Mayor? Further discussion? Or there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Councilman Brennan?
I knew it would go this way, but can we break it out into 2 different votes since it's 2 different things on the agenda again? It was item I and L. What was that? I don't remember.
I and J.
So I'll amend my motion to approve, let me just get back to it here. Approve the recommendation of Brenda McCarthy to the Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
I'm going to talk again for just a second to explain myself, I guess. I have nothing against these 2 people, and I want them on the board. I just want the board to be balanced in terms of development, non-development. So, my vote really doesn't matter at this point based on the majority, but I think I'll vote in favor of it. I made my point, but I hope that we can balance it out when a member leaves and a new member joins in terms of the intent of this statute, where I think the intent really belongs to, making the team equal between developers and non-developers so that there's not a
Majority.
not necessarily a majority, but something that just absolutely, if a real estate team says we like it and the general citizen says we hate it, that there's more of a balance. So I will vote in favor because I have nothing against the people. I just hope we can balance it out in the future, Brock.
Thank you. Did nobody notice that Brennan's an HR professional? I mean, they're all crazy.
Look at Tiffany! Hey, all right, so let's go down to item J, that was removed from the consent agenda.
So I will make before I make a motion, I will just say that I do agree, going forward, that it needs to be a little more in line and equal. But that's not what's in front of us right now. In front of us right now is getting us in compliance with our statutes. So again, I will make a motion to approve the recommendation of Kelly McCormick to the Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
I'd like the same comments printed into the minutes with the last one. Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right, run down to action item number 2, deliberation decision on Imagine Ventures request for development waivers for the proposed Gulfview Apartments. Council, what do you guys want to do?
Grab it real quick.
This is the Gulfview Apartments.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan?
I love starting everything off. I'm just kidding. No. Is he calling the developer? Okay.
I'm here as well.
Oh.
Hey, Jag, I'm just putting you on speaker. So, council is deliberating.
Sorry, I was waiting for that.
Come forward.
It would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this all boils down to, if I understand right, Brock, the request for, the certificate of occupancy, that the impact fees being paid at the point of C of O. And number 2 being the reduction in property tax waiver. Do you have anything that's like crazy awesome on this development, far and beyond any other development, that would warrant a property tax waiver that we haven't provided to anyone else?
Crazy awesome. Probably doesn't raise to that point, but I think the one thing that we want to do is we want to complete it quickly. What we've noticed, and we've been involved in another previous project, which is known as the Village, and we were asked to come in and assist on that. So we started looking at it in about mid-January. And when we went through and had an appraisal done on the property, it came in much lower than we needed in order to get financing. And there was a couple of reasons for it. Probably the strongest reason is the lack of comps. As the most recent, I understand, multifamily development dates back to about 2008. Is that correct? Yeah. And then the other is the number of approved projects, which tend to look like competition. But the number of approved projects versus the number of projects actually moving forward may not be, in fact, the same. So, like I said, we got asked to get involved in that. We came close to closing on that, but it didn't pass our due diligence. So we raised the funds to accomplish that project, and rather than returning the money to the investment pool, we talked to Brock, and Brock gave us another project that made sense, and we think it's there. This one looks close. It's frankly, in the end, not our decision internally. It's really the decision of the investor pool, whether they think it's a good investment to make or not. You asked if it's crazy awesome. No, it's a good project. We think we looked at the things that the council requested, which was to increase the number of parking spots. I think it started out around 270, which was very low, something like a ratio of 1.4. We've increased it to 332, so we're well over 2 now. We've invested quite a bit of time and efforts to get it to be what we think is a great project, and we think it makes sense. It was originally going to be a very little mix of unit types. We've mixed it up, so we have 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 2s, and 3 2s in there. So we think it's a good project in that regard. So I think that's the best way I can answer it, is we're close. It's marginal on passing muster, if you will, and we're just looking for ways to see if we can push it over the line and make it happen. We don't intend to do like some things have had in the past, where we simply develop a rendering and then go out and sell the project. We want to build this thing, and we want to build it quickly. We have the incentive. The clock is already running for us on our investors. This started back in January, so we have time to make up in that. So,
is it a one and done or a multi-phased project?
No, it's one and done. It has to be to be practical. Any of these multi-phased ones, they're not efficient. You can't start and stop on the project and get efficiency in the building.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing. Now I'm going to transition to the C of O request here. Is I remember in past our legal counsel here has given kind of his 2 cents to say he does not like that, not really a good method, and I guess I'd like to ask him, is that an idea of policy or an idea of legal ways of your experience?
Both. I mean, the C of O stage, I mean, is it going to be a pass-through to the owners of the lots, or will it be the developer?
As far, you mean the tax abatement, or are you referring to the development fees?
The development fees.
The development fees, our understanding was we could request that the development fees become due upon the COO. So we would just simply pay those fees at that point in time, I guess prior to receiving this certificate of occupancy.
Are you asking about impact fees or the tax?
Collecting the impact fee at the time of C of O.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the preference is always to do it at the building permit stage, so that is not a legal statement. It's just in past practice, you know, the nightmares of 2007, 6, 7, 8. You know, we just saw crashing, a lot of projects that crashed and burned, and the impact fees and stuff were never paid. You know, improvements were never done, that kind of thing. So whenever you pass it farther down the road, you risk the possibility of it, you never receiving it because of hardship. And so, but I'll say that it is a common practice to grant requests such as this, to do it at the C of O stage. The things that you, again, the important question there is who's paying it. And so that was why I asked that question.
Are you, when you say who, are you saying like a pass through, or like I'm just going to use as an example. He's going to say, okay, now that you've are in contract to buy this house or this fourplex or unit, you now have to go write a check to the city for that, or he just ends up jacking the rate up.
We don't want to be chasing around homeowners to say that, because this is for a you know, this was a subdivision. It's one, you know, at the building permit stage, you're talking about basically one check to start the building permits and all these different things. At the C of O stage, who are you chasing around to make sure it's paid?
Well, it is, just to be clear, it is a entity that we're forming, or have formed, I should say, that will own all of the apartment buildings. So
Okay.
it's one, there's not individual owners, you know.
Okay. That alleviates some concerns. Like I said, the problem is that at the C of O stage, the developer's sometimes gone out of the picture.
I see.
No, we're also the owner. So we're the developer and the owner in this
Yeah.
case.
I'm speaking more generally.
Yeah, understand.
As to, he was asking me a policy or legal in general.
Right.
You know, why would I advise against that in times past?
And a big if they were to turn around and sell it before actually building it, would our decision today go to the next owner?
Oh, yeah.
It would.
It would run with, it goes to the approval of the process itself. It's the application, that is the, for lack of a better term, that is the condition of approval. Is that you don't get a C of O. Just because you're a new owner, you don't get a C of O without that impact fee being paid.
So, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bundy?
So before the C of O certificate is granted, that's when they pay the impact fees.
Correct.
So
It's kind of, I mean,
pretty strong incentive. Before they can bring anybody in and rent it out, they have to pay the impact.
Yeah. For example, it's not unlike all the different boxes Brock gets to check at the final plat stage.
Right.
You know, at the preliminary plat is when you granted the approval for all these things, but when the actual box gets checked is at the final plat stage. So it's not unlike that. I have horror stories, and that's why it gives me pause. However, it's perfectly legal to do that.
And Kevin J., I don't have a problem with the impact fee. The tax one, that's a hard pill to swallow for me. And I've always told you, ask, because the answer is always no. So
yeah,
you know, so I'm just throwing that out there. That's just my opinion. So if it comes down to any kind of, you know, I don't know how this body's going to vote, but if it comes down to, you know where I feel.
Yes,
okay.
yes, we've had the conversation, so we always appreciate your input.
The only other
Brutal
thing
truth.
I'll say about impact fees as well is when it's at one of the things that the public complains about a lot is why is it that all this growth happens and only now we're building the infrastructure to address it? And so when you extend things down to the C of O's, it sounds like this project is, no offense whatsoever, it's pretty small.
Yeah, relatively, sure.
And so its impact, you know, will be, the difference between the building permit and the C of O stage probably isn't all that much. It's financially important to them, I understand that. But that is the only other issue that sometimes pops up about the timing of when impact fees should be paid as to when it actually can be assets put in the ground versus the complaint that you always hear from the public that the burden is there, but the solution to the burden has not been presented yet. You don't have the money yet.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Bundy?
It's my understanding also that as the project is going along, they'll be paying all of the fees necessary, the water hookups,
Yeah.
So that's not what we're talking about.
No.
So all the construction costs, all the city costs in the process are already being taken care of in the process.
Correct.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that I understood that correctly.
And that you're keeping ownership of it.
Yes.
That definitely alleviates a lot of my concerns.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
my apologies, I think I just cut off Brennan. My only concern about reducing, but prolonging collecting the impact fees, although this project is small and this project won't have a large impact, it again, I go back to setting the precedence of if we do this for one, we do this for all, and that will make it harder for the city to plan for further future growth based on the impact fees that we may or may not collect, because we don't know when we're going to collect them. And so I realize that we want the building and we want this project to go quickly because we need housing, but we also need to realize that if we start setting this precedence with one developer, we're going to get many developers that ask for this. So, that's my thoughts.
What's the time frame?
Start
to finish. Like if we did everything today, start to finish.
Assuming everything goes great, which we're hoping it will, we hope to get through the horizontals in about 4 to 5 months. Immediately pull permits at that point and start going vertical. We think first building, maybe buildings will come on in about 14, 15 months. Completion about 4 to 5 months after. So we're looking at probably about a 19 to 20 month window to get the project built.
And that's 160 units?
150.
150 units?
Yeah.
And they're blocked, right? Or are they all just one giant block? You know?
No.
There's multiple.
Yeah, there's multiple buildings.
Okay.
Brock, can you? I didn't.
I guess my question to you is, let's say you take the first building, it's done, you're going to want to put people in there, right?
Well, we have to look at fire safety and other things. Can we even stage them in? If we can, great, because we think the need's there. So we'd love to be able to start, filling those leases as the others are completed. That may or may not work out. That'll be determined. Yeah.
What's your time frame for the first block of buildings? Not the whole project. Is this still the 19 month?
Yeah. It's about October of 24. We'll be there. We'll have first building up. Which one it is, I don't know. Yeah. They're not all identical buildings. And it'll be based upon how the construction has to proceed, how fire safety needs to be. So that part's to be determined as to which building comes up first.
Okay.
Mayor.
Councilman Green?
So understanding Becky's concern and a lot of concerns, would be more in tune with a 50% fee up front, or the impact fee paid up front, with the other 50 due at occupancy.
Okay. Mayor, Councilman Brennan?
As far as Councilwoman Garvey's concerns about precedent, I have the exact same thoughts. I believe legal has told me numerous times that just because we make a decision doesn't mean we have to grant that same decision to every other developer behind them.
Correct. There's legal and there's political realities. I think you understand the distinction. Legally, are you precluded from saying no merely because you said yes once before? Of course not. Same thing with the chief lets one person go for speeding, that means he has to let everybody else go? Well, of course not. But if you're doing it because of a legitimate reason, then no. However, that being said, Councilwoman Garvey and you are certainly astute in recognizing the political pressure that creates. And then the argument that you're treating the next person arbitrarily and capriciously, trying to make a legal claim of it, which will fail, but yet it creates a quagmire that has to be sifted through later. So that's a legitimate observation.
And so with that, I guess the forming of the precedents, Brock, I guess I'm just going to turn to you, is how many times have we got the notice that says developers are having problems because there's no comps? So, sir, it's
my life.
It's just constant. So, sir, tell me from your profession, how many multifamily buildings have to be built for there to be comps to get everybody off the ground running?
One is an amazing improvement over zero. So at least you have something that's a comparative. It doesn't happen the moment you build the building. They'll look at your occupancy. They're looking at the business, the economics of that. And that's what they're comparing. A lender wants to know that the project will be able to pay the mortgage going down the road. That's what they're looking for. So right now, you're in a situation where we don't have comps. So, and the valuations come in very low because it looks like there's a lot of competition when there really isn't. We know that there's very little available housing. Yeah.
I don't mind doing...
Jack, did you want to add something?
Yeah. Hi, Mayor and hi, Council. Thank you very much for your time. I just wanted to add a little bit more to what Kevin was saying. You see, the challenge, as you know, we spent 18 months at Mountain Home and bringing investors through and everything. But one thing with this project is upfront, we are raising the full equity component of the construction, as well as the loan, we are getting a bank loan. We have a term sheet for it. So in that sense, this actually creates a very good sort of ecosystem for additional developers to come in and easily raise financing. To be honest, if it was an easy market to build, we would not come to you with all these requests at all. What we are competing against is similar projects in Caldwell and NAMTA and everything else. And the challenge that we are facing is that the landowners are not pricing their land any cheaper than Caldwell or NAMTA. So the cost of construction and the project itself is similar. And what's happening because of that is they're viewing Mountain Home as a riskier market right now. But if we can show that it's not a riskier market, I think that we can change that. We can change that impression. But right now, if the project cost is the same in Caldwell versus Mountain Home, investors and banks tend to pick Caldwell. And that's sort of the headwind we are facing. But on this particular project, I can tell you that what we are trying to do is we are bringing the right mix of investors. And I think Brock and the mayor and the city has seen all the investors that we have brought who are committing, multiple rounds. Once they invest in Mountain Home, they will come in every year. And the reason is these are financial advisors and they represent retiree money. So these are retirees around the United States who just want sort of a coupon payment. So for that reason, they come in and invest every year X amount of dollars in a given real estate project. So they would be repeat investors in the area as well. But Mountain Home was a brand new thing for them. And we had to sell Mountain Home over other projects that they were looking at in Caldwell and Boise and other areas. And given that we have no control over what the landowners would charge or are charging us right now, we are having to make these requests to the city to kind of make this a catalyst project.
Thanks, Jack. So council, what do you got? Councilman Brennan.
To finish on that. I'm all for doing a impact fee payment at time of certificate of occupancy for the first person, right?
It's the one beachheading it.
I need the one developer to get us the comps for every other development here. But how do I know that you're going to be the first and it's not going to be the village that's underway, or it's going to be the Turner House development that's already broken? I would say broken ground, literally moved the ground around.
Yeah.
And put underwater or underground equipment in there.
Yep. And so has the village. They've done their horizontal.
And there's another developer sitting behind you that's listening very, very intently, and I think they're going to probably. I'm just kidding, but they may ask for the exact same thing.
Sure.
So how do I know you're going to be first to open a multifamily unit to get us the the comps that we need.
Perhaps be set up as a race then.
Yeah.
You know,
I feel like if you don't have your building permits pulled for vertical stuff within, you told us about 9 months to his question.
No, I think sooner than we pull vertical permits before that. We'd like to think we could get it in about 4 to 5 months.
So if you don't have a building permit pulled within 6 months, you lose our deal of no of impact fees at time of C of O.
Yeah.
I'm just brainstorming here.
I understand your point there. How do we know we're going to finish first? We don't.
Right.
Nor does anyone.
That's very rocky ground, as you identified in your own paperwork.
In many ways, figuratively and literally. So yeah, I think what you're proposing makes some sense. It is a race, if you will. It's hopefully a race that a lot of people will run because the city needs the housing. It's not that we don't want the village. We would have done the village had it made economic sense. The problem on that one was the land seller, who was also the project developer at that time, was just asking an exorbitant amount for the land and the project, and it just didn't pencil out. If we can't make money for our investors, we can't do the projects. Quite plain and simple.
I like Councilman Brennan's analogy. First, I think that's fair. That telling all other developers, no one gets this deal but you. But then if you're getting the deal, not saying that not all other developers don't get this deal, but let's set the precedent. Let's have one developer set it for the comps for all, and then we work that down the road later if there's something that's super cool or
Mayor, we've had there's no discount against your words by any means. Is we've had developer after developer say we're ready to break ground tomorrow. Right, there was a medical group up on the hill, right, that said we're ready to do it yesterday. Where did they go? Where's everybody else that's made us a promise that they're going to build it and not just have a paper PUD and turn around and sell it? So how do we make this deal with him to get a promise that you're going to proceed right away?
Like you want to put some conditions on it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If there were conditions on it, that is absolutely fair. Especially if it doesn't transfer over to anyone else and you give us a certain time limit. Because to be honest, we already have accepted investor money partially. And to Kevin's point, the clock is running. And our IRR is dropping every month that we don't break ground. So we're highly motivated. Under a tighter deadline to break ground.
Mayor.
Councilman Green?
I think just in the amount of time that Jag and Kevin have put into it, not just with this project, but with the other projects that they've been looking at, the amount of time that we've spent with them in meetings, or city council meetings where they've come forward, they are very interested in doing something here in Mountain Home, and I think they've kind of proven that fact.
We tried.
Oh, I'm not saying you guys aren't the biggest champions of Mountain Home. Oh my gosh, you're out there telling the world how great Mountain Home is, and I appreciate that. So,
and we need the comp,
Yeah.
to even get other investors out here or other building going on. I think it's something that we should do.
Mayor, Councilman Brennan.
Question for Jag on the phone.
Yep.
You've asked for 2 items. If we were to approve one of them with conditions and not the other, does that give you enough financial leeway to proceed, or do you have to have both to proceed?
We have modeled in both, and it meets. I think the second request is a letter of support, and we don't know what would happen on Friday, so I'm going to be there actually on Friday. The reason is, I think it comes in on the threshold of the IRR that is coming in compared to the rest of the area. So we are requesting for both, but we don't think we will get the full tax abatement that we are requesting. I think it's going to be a partial one, and that is fine. But we just want your support on the second one.
But I think your question was, can we do the project if we only get one of the two? It's close.
It's close.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have all the costs determined. We know pretty much where the vertical construction costs are. We're still waiting to figure out what the horizontals will be. And there has to be, of course, contingencies built into it, but What we're hoping is that we get a project that works and that the investors are very happy with, and then when we ask to do the next one, the answer is yes, why not? You know, this first one worked, let's do another.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I just want to make it clear that I am not in support of a letter to reduce property taxes for this venture. I think that reducing property taxes needs to be left to industries such as Marathon Cheese, just larger industries that are really going to bring a large economic impact to our community, because the property taxes are what our community, our county, we thrive on that, and I am not in favor of that, so I will not sign a letter of support for reduction of property taxes. It wasn't discussed very much. We mostly had talked about impact fees, but I want to make that clear.
Copy that. So council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor,
Councilman Brennan.
I'm on the, I don't know, of the mindset of granting one with the conditions that even the developer says are more than fair. And I don't know what all the conditions would be other than my quick, uneducated idea of a 6-month to have your building permit pulled, and it expires at that time if not. Do you have anything?
No, I agree with that fully. I think that's a great condition.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
do they think that they can actually dig and be ready for a building permit in 6 months? I mean, that's a rocky land up there. Is that feasible? Do they think that they can do that?
Would there be anything to preclude us from pulling the permits even if we weren't done with the horizontals?
Pull your permit?
Yeah, we could pull the permit day one from my understanding. Though we're allowed to do the horizontals before we pull.
Kevin, I think what the question is, given that, could we have, is the question that, should we keep it, is 7 months realistic, or, I don't know, because we close on May 24th.
Yeah.
That's the date we close on the property.
So we don't, oh, never mind, I'm not gonna go there. All right.
Do you have any idea of conditions to ensure, like, the first one?
So I like your 6 month. I mean, it gives you time to get your land ready to rock and roll. It shouldn't take you 6 months to get all that in there.
No.
Well, I'm not a developer,
It could.
no construction guy, so I like
Everything we discuss
on
will take a
that.
little longer and cost a little more than the best laid plans.
Right.
But, yeah.
But I've seen site work get done fairly quick. So
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up to you, council.
Rocks scare me. Like,
I
we
don't
know,
They do us as well.
we know how long. But I kind of get worried when he turns around and says, well, I can pull a building permit on the first day. Like, does that accomplish anything for us? Does that guarantee the first, I mean, maybe a building permit's only good for a year? I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, what I would recommend is, personally, I think this is a good thing, but more will ask. Everyone is going to want this who is involved in a multifamily project. What I would recommend is if this is something that you want to do, that we do it correctly. Other cities have done it this way. What could happen is we could table this item until the next time, which will give staff enough time to reach out to other communities who have implemented these types of things. We're able to analyze all of their conditions and then bring you forth something that's robust, and we're not drafting something right now, just trying to hope that it works.
Copy that.
Mayor, they have a closing date, though.
Yeah.
They do, and I know it's kind of a bummer that they do, but I know that we can give you a better, more thoughtful, intentional product if you gave us time to draft a draft development agreement.
So why wasn't this, discussed prior? All the, like, this what we're talking about. Why didn't you give us these analogies earlier from other cities that you say you have?
Right now, because it just came to pass. They were the first people to ask and want to entertain the idea of doing a C of O later on. It's one of those things that you really don't want to pull out unless you know the environment is ripe for it. Just as our legal counsel stated, this is not something that you make broad policy forever and ever. It's something that you insert into the environment when it calls for it. And
So I guess since we're not on a time constraint. Obviously, Jag and Kevin are. What do you want to see? Tell me what you want. Besides the tax.
Yeah, well, everything, of course.
Of course.
If we could even have a strong indication that this would happen, I think that would help us to make, because obviously we're still in due diligence. We could at the last moment decide for some reason unknown that it's not going to work. I don't foresee that. We've spent a lot of time on this. We've looked at it. We have high confidence in this project. Jag, what's your thoughts on that? Can we go with an opinion that we might get that post-closing, or do we absolutely need it to close?
No, we can go with post-closing. That's fine. I mean, obviously we are interested in doing this, and I like Brock's idea, but I think our goal would be to get it started. Maybe we should talk to all the contractor in terms of when we can start. Is it June 1st or July 1st? Either one, right?
Yeah, we don't know yet. We know we've got most of our bids on the vertical, but the horizontals are still open, and that's the bigger question mark for us.
And a lot of the subs are local as well from Mountain Home.
Yeah.
So, which is a good thing. But
yeah, it makes it easier to do.
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
I don't really like being put on the spot and to form this quick agreement really quick or conditions without having the time to
do it right.
Exactly, right? And so I'm willing to commit that I'm willing to do it under the conditions that we don't yet know. So a development agreement is always in our best interest, I think, and I think it helps both parties. So I want to help you. So if we had to have a special meeting or whatever, I'm willing. I'm not speaking for the council, but I don't like being put on the spot with having to develop a thing that you can just, because we give you the permission and then you walk away from your due diligence clause, and now we've already given our one thing to somebody, and it's stuck with the land according to the attorney, not with you.
Correct.
So I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I'm also I'm not going to support the property tax waiver.
Okay, so I guess there's no. I guess go do. I think from what I'm hearing.
So do we need to table it till next meeting?
So do you want to have Brock give you go out, get his synopsis, send it to you council, then do a special meeting? Is that something that's more? Like I said, we're not in a hurry. I know you are, but what do you guys want to do, Councilman Bundy?
I'm good if Brock does his due diligence and brings something back. Councilman Brennan stated that he could come in for a special meeting to do that. I agree. And I think we're getting to be pretty unanimous on the fact that we don't want to sign a letter on the property tax waiver.
Okay. So, Councilwoman Garvey, are you in the same conclusion?
Mayor, yes I am.
Okay. How about you, Councilman Green?
Yes.
So we'll do. How about you? We'll do this for you. We'll have Brock do his due diligence, get all the pertinent information for the council, and then the council can meet with Brock and tell them their wants and wishes and likes and dislikes individually, and then we can do a special council meeting if we need to do so for your time frame.
Very good.
What's the closing date again?
24th.
24th.
And our next meeting is the 23rd, so.
Nothing like the last moment.
Right.
So we could probably have something done when?
The 19th.
Okay.
If you need it sooner, I can make it happen sooner, Mr.
19th, 18th.
18th would work better.
18th is better.
Yeah.
I don't do good work on.
No.
No, I'm kidding.
Let's hope for the 18th.
Okay, let's shoot for the 18th. Council, does that sound good? Kevin and Jack, thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess we're just gonna
Thanks a lot for your time. Yep.
not make a decision on that period. Okay? All right. Let's run down to action item number 3, deliberation. Decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of finding a fact conditional use permit to allow for additional of 3 portable classrooms at 415 West 2nd North. Staff provided an email to you guys April 20. Well, sorry, Councilman Bunny, April 26, 23. Okay. What do you guys want to do?
Mayor.
Councilman Brennan.
I got personally, no reason to discuss this. I would just jump right into a motion to approve planning and zoning's recommendation to allow for 3 portable units at 415 West 2nd North.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy? Aye. Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Garvey? Sorry, Councilwoman Garvey?
Councilwoman Garvey votes aye.
Okay, sorry about that. Run down
That's
to
okay.
Action item number 4, this deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of finding of fact for annexation of property located south of the Air Base Road between South 14th West Street and Jerome Street with conditions. Staff report was provided on April 26, 2023. Council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
With your permission, could I include some comments for action item number 5 and 6, the overall development standard for annexation?
Sure.
Just give away one, and you're tied into the other. So,
Okay.
is the developer present for that one?
So are we doing 4, 5, and 6 all together?
If you're okay with that.
Okay. Okay. Come on down. You're in the hot seat.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey.
can I just add a quick sidebar note on these? Can we, for the future on these developments, I understand last time Brendan didn't get his packet from Brock. Can we just get a brief synopsis in our packets going forward? Because we got these on 4/26, and that was quite a while ago, and so we had to do a little bit of digging to bring back this project. So that's just my ask.
So you're wanting like like I said, a small synopsis in the council
Yeah.
packet?
Yeah, so we used to get the beautiful, thing that Brock made, but it just is, sometimes it's kind of nice to just get a brief refresher because those emails come and our email box gets stacked. So that's just my quick ask.
Okay, I will, Brock's here. Got that, Brock?
Thank you, Brock. Sorry.
To make sure that we provide that.
All right, Councilman Brennan, you're up.
Guys, thanks for coming in today. I had from what I was able to see and read, and ultimately I was able to visit with Brock in the office and take a good look at the map and some other items. There's a couple things I've got just some concerns on right away, and it's been addressed in P&Z. It's been addressed by the Transportation Department. One of them is the access to the property, right? The one access in, one access out, it's all the same. And that worries me, right? I'm reminded of a time where there was a fatality crash right in front of Meadows Trailer Park, which is just down the road, which kept people from getting out of their residential neighborhood because of the investigation occurring with that fatal crash. So people were tied in there for an extended period of time with no escape. If there's a crash, and sorry, council, I always bring in my profession, I suppose, but if there's a crash right at that exit point or some type of hazardous materials spill on a highway which is used frequently for all different types of stuff, it's a state highway, for goodness sake, and having one pinch point is detrimental to the safety of the people that live there, and to the people passing through the intersection on the road. And I know there are no surrounding roads immediately to your property. Something that would set a little easier in my mind is if you left a spot on, maybe, as I look at this map on the TV, I'm just going to call it the southeast side of the, as it's printed on the TV, the southeast side, leaving a future dedicated access point to Autumn Road. I know an Autumn Road is not necessarily a public street right now. The developer, or the land right next to you, is not a neighborhood by any means right now, but I believe those things will develop with time. And if you left probably just one of your properties off of there so that an access could eventually connect through the next property and then to Autumn Road. And yes, that's an assumption that Autumn Road will become a city street, but I believe in my heart it will be here one day. So by doing that, you don't have to develop it right now or connect it right now. You just basically deed that spot over for road access in the future so that there is another way to connect out. And then the other point I wanted to talk about is the entry and exit point there that ITD they've said has to align with Bradford Street. Is the map I saw earlier showed 3 lines or 2 lines in the middle of that access point. Is it just your intent to have 1 lane out and 1 lane in?
It's a 3-lane.
3, and tell me how those 3 lanes are set up.
So you've got a left turnout, straight through, right turnout, and then you're in.
Okay, so a left and a right out. Which lane will the straight be in? Dedicated left and right, or dedicated right and straight? I said that wrong.
It would be right and straight.
Right and straight. Okay. And so Bradford is already a pretty narrow street, and the city or the people who live there have not yet gone to the point of widening that road. So is it your intent to match the width of Bradford? I know on this map this is not your final plat, but it's not in direct alignment right there as it is now.
Yeah, we'll have to shift it and adjust it a little bit. And I don't know exactly how wide Bradford is offhand, so it's something we can look at, and we can center it as best we can.
Sure.
My main concern for the movement would probably be the out movement from ours,
right?
Because I would expect less coming in, but and most of the movements will be onto the highway, obviously.
Say that again. You expect less people to come in than to go out?
Well, no, from across the street.
Okay. Just crossing State Highway 51 there.
Yeah.
Okay. My thought is, pending ITD approval, right, is that you widen your entrance and exit there just a little bit further. So try to paint a verbal picture here is your inbound to your neighborhood is directly in line with Bradford Street with that same lane, right? It's a straight line. Your outbound lane is a left turn lane and a straight lane, left and straight. And then you make it a little bit wider, and so your outbound furthest right turn only lane gives you a wider entrance for more ingress egress to the neighborhood. Are you tracking what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I think that's fine. A lot of it will be driven by ITD.
Right. And you've already done your ITD approvals though, right?
Correct. So we're conceptually approved, but we haven't gotten into the nitty-gritty details of the engineering design, actually laying everything out.
Okay. My thought would be is that you submit the plan that way with your entrance and exit to make it a little wider, to have more potential to get in or out or around an emergency that happens right in front of the neighborhood on Airbase Road or State Highway 51.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, the other thing we talked about. So I think it's all safety driven, and our ordinance comprehensive plan talks highly about safety, highway safety, individual safety, and I don't think I could stress it enough as having more ability to get in and out. Yeah, I'll leave it at that for a minute.
All right, council, what do you guys want to do? Are we doing all 4, 5, and 6 in one fell swoop?
No.
Can't do that?
No.
Okay, so we're on action item number 4.
Do the annexation first.
So, oh, sorry. Yeah, 4.
Yeah, you
Okay.
just have to do annexation first,
Okay.
and then you can move down the line.
Annexation.
Okay, so what do you guys want to do?
I'll make a motion to approve Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation and finding of fact for the annexation of property located south of Airbase Road between South 14th West Street and Jerome Street with conditions.
Do I hear a second? Okay.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor, I do.
Councilman Brennan.
Would you guys be willing to commit right now to having an access point to in the direction of Smith Road, leaving that open for future development?
Smith Road?
Autumn Road. Autumn, I'm sorry.
I don't know where Smith Road is at.
Apologize, Autumn, yeah.
I mean, where
again, in alignment of Autumn Road. I mean, it's hard to depict, I guess, what area would you even want to come out of there.
So you'd have to, the hard part is someone's gonna have to buy that lot right next to them.
Right. We know it's not there now, but future planning and development, you'd think you would make the access point so when there is future development in that ground, and we know there will be eventually. And Autumn is that road right to the west.
They call it
of that.
14th, I think.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, South 14th West Street. It's, you wanna put a cursor on there, Brock, for them?
That's it right there.
That's considered Autumn.
Yeah, he's asking for some sort of access opening for a future piece of right-of-way. Mr. Mayor, it's also important that the city council acknowledge that we are kind of preemptively, we would have to get the roadway dedicated, but for this property, when it comes in, we're kind of telling them, hey, this is where we plan on making a public roadway. Preemptively. Like, so once this property, if it was to annex, we would have some teeth that in order to annex, they would have to allow us that access, which he is creating. But right now, they aren't, I think that property's in the county. They could develop in such a way where they block it, and the city doesn't have any ability to really confront that besides doing some sort of written comment to the county if it's something that even warrants a public hearing. The county could do an outright permitted use and block it, and there's nothing we can do. So
Another ask?
connectivity is
I think it's pretty like narrow-minded to not have some type of future plan for growth. And if it's not this, what is it? Because one way in, one way out forever is not a good idea. It's just not.
So Brock, didn't the ground just south of that, didn't that guy was gonna bring it in, we made him conform to all the, no, it seemed further
No,
south.
this is actually part of it, I believe, Mr. Is it?
So remember this right here, didn't the guy try to, he was gonna come in off, oh, no, it's down here.
it's down there.
It's down
Yeah,
here,
it's
never mind.
less further.
Yeah, never mind.
The county doesn't even recognize Autumn Road really as
Right.
a road, so.
So there's been a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
I wanted an answer, if yes or no, I guess.
No, I think, I mean, what we were just talking is, you know, we'd be willing to look at doing something more of like an emergency access point on that side to where it's not a dedicated, you know, public roadway, because anything that comes into our property anyways is considered private right now. And so we would look at being able to do an emergency access point somewhere along that west area.
Even, like, are you saying, so like we have a rural fire truck that can go over the desert, that you'll let them get in? Or, that helps fire or emergency responders get in, it doesn't help people get out.
Well, I guess it does in situations where if the roadway's blocked, because I thought it was mainly a safety concern was your concern.
Yeah, for an emergency only, so they would be able to use that access point if you have the hazmat team out on that front, as you had mentioned, or if you have an emergency vehicle blocking that front, that deems it necessary as an emergency access point to be able to go that way.
To get all traffic in and out, emergency vehicles and personal vehicles?
But, I mean, for the emergency access, because what you're saying right now is in the future, you would actually have a dedicated roadway going to that emergency access. And so at that point in time, what would be on our property would allow all those cars to go in and out to that dedicated public right-of-way.
And you used a term like, it's our private road right now.
Well, no, so he's talking about the internal, this isn't
Within the-
proposed as
Yeah,
a public street, it's proposed as a
We're
private
not,
drive.
we're not taking it over, it's their road.
Okay, the plan never for the city to take it over, and you guys know that?
Correct.
Okay. Mayor, I know you want to move on, but I don't quite understand what they're saying in terms of, are you willing to leave a spot clear so future traffic can get in and out? Whether it's a fire truck right now that crosses over the desert to get in, or there's space dedicated so that in the future, you turn that today's emergency access into a future road.
If the road is.
So like, don't you have like green space in there?
Yeah, I don't think you can cross over.
I know, that's, I know you can't develop it right now, but if they left it, then what Brock is saying is the next developer, right? Then we don't have to annex them unless they're willing to let us connect an exit out to Autumn. Or I know.
But the next developer might be private road also. So we're going from a private road to a private road. We have you're asking them to dedicate a road to us that's going to possibly go nowhere. How are we going to maintain it from wherever it's coming from? That it's just sitting there.
And you don't think with annexation of the next private development that we can put that clause on them that you must let their exit and entrance connect through your property to the other one?
So, it's black. So, I guess my question here.
I
know what you're saying.
I don't know the answer, but.
So let's just say play devil's advocate. So is this like just green space?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so that could be your road in the future if you ever want to develop it back down to Autumn Road, or that's green space too. You could always develop that later down the road if we had to.
Correct.
So you have kind of two spots. We could turn green space into a park or driveway if it ever develops.
But it would have to meet our standards. So that's not wide enough for our
No, he's talking about
Access.
access. But emergency access.
I mean, just like by your house, there's a stub that's put out, right?
But that is a dedicated road that we will take over that
But for right now,
annexation is putting together.
But for right now, they have green space, what's that green space? 50 feet?
I don't know if it's
150?
I was gonna say, I don't know if it's quite 50. And are you guys using that for stormwater retention? That's what we were looking
I
at.
mean, that's what we were looking at.
It's not gonna be a flat plane.
So, I mean, we could potentially do something underground, or we could look at it.
Well, to me, I don't know why
Keep the stare daggers at me.
I don't know why there wouldn't be stormwater retention in the very, very front where it's ginormous.
It doesn't slope the right direction to take.
You pipe it.
I heard a lot about rock earlier from your.
Not over there. That should be good, is there?
There's a lot of rock.
There's a lot of rock.
All right. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah.
I understand the argument of a private road. So if that's the road we want to go down as a private road and we can't have any control or any kind of safety measure, go ahead. I'm going to vote against it. So go ahead with calling the vote.
And I guess I'm not opposed to, to keep talking about it. It's what does that look like? Okay, I leave you a blank space. The city comes in, who's gonna pay to actually improve that in 10, 15 years, or whenever you actually come in? Because I don't want to be, I have to say, oh, here's an allotment of dollars that you can build it out in the future. You come to me in 10, 15 years and say, oh, by the way, now you gotta construct this road. So I mean, there's gotta be a little bit of stuff that's gotta get put down on it.
You're absolutely right, 100%. I know it's tough. What I'm not gonna go past is the one way in, one way out with that many residents in there. I'm not doing it.
So what would it look like? I mean, you'd need a 20-foot wide.
What's our road standard?
I mean,
like, even if you don't call it a road, if you can let people out in an emergency, in an evacuation, or you let people in, first responders in. I don't know what it looks like. I'm not.
Yeah, I think we're willing to adjust the site plan to provide a 25-foot emergency access stub to the side.
That would be an easement.
An
Emergency access easement.
Yeah, emergency access
That's
easement.
something that.
I'm not the developer, so I don't know how to do that. I'm just telling you, as this is, I'm not voting.
No, and that's something we could put on the plat. I mean, we could keep a 25-foot space, that says this is an emergency access agreement and will only be used for that.
Yeah, we're open to that.
Well, you make a lot of headway with me by making another way that people can get in and out in an emergency.
So would you guys be amenable to having the condition that at final plat, there has to be some sort of emergency access either along this, oh, this is terrible, either along this western side or south side, that we will work it out to have it some sort of EMS emergency easement?
Don't you guys own the storage units?
No, I bought it from the storage units.
Oh,
So I
I was
bought-
say, why don't you work a deal with them, see if you can sneak a little access in there?
I think they already have, well, you would know their plan a lot better than I do.
I don't know if they're totally blocked out, but.
issue with that is they have, a controlled gate up front.
They have a gate.
Oh,
So once you get into there, that's where that would have.
Hey, I'm trying to help you.
No, I get it. I appreciate it. I truly appreciate it. I think I would be amenable to be able to put that in. I think I would just want something in there of what you guys would be looking for in terms of, right now, is it just an all-purpose?
Well, I think that's what we would propose, is a 25-foot wide.
Emergency access easement. Yeah.
Have you ever considered making an offer for an easement through the next property to the west?
That wouldn't be feasible with cost and to do an easement and what they would actually want. That would not be feasible to go and get an easement through the neighbor's property. I have not approached them.
You don't know what they would charge you for it?
I personally do not, but I can tell you.
It's a lot.
Generally, gets exorbitant because you're restricting, if you're going to an adjacent undeveloped property, you're restricting their ability to develop potentially in the future.
I agree. Yeah.
So you're forcing, yeah.
But like you said, I would be more than willing to put an emergency access easement on that west side.
So I hold this up because of annexation. As soon as we give up annexation, then you don't have to do anything essentially. So I'm asking you for your word that if I vote for annexation, in the next action items down, you're going to promise that you're going to grant some type of an emergency easement.
Well, there'll be a condition, right, Brock?
So
You would make it.
this is just the annex in. I get where you're going, but you could tell them that. What is the next one?
You could annex them in, and then on the next one say, well, you don't get that.
No, I know.
Not that we'd want to do that, but
I know, but once you annex, you give away the keys.
Yeah, but with the preliminary plat, with the standards of approval that we have, health, safety, general welfare, there's, I believe, a slight argument there. Would you say legal?
Yep.
For that, it's not abnormal.
All right. Motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Garvey.
May.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Oh my gosh. How many units is this again?
152.
152 front doors?
152 doors.
Full build out?
And we're parked at 2.3 units per, or 2.3 parks per unit, which is far and above the average that you typically see in rentals.
This vote is getting ominous.
I keep holding up is that you guys are coming to the table now, and I really appreciate that. I don't want to feel like I'm going against my word, but in reality, if there's a evacuation called in the area, the little Honda Civics that are in there aren't going to cross country to get out. I'm going to vote nay.
I vote aye. Action item number 5, deliberation decision on finding the zoning commission recommendation of findings of facts of zone C4 property located south of Air Base Road between South 14th West and Street and Jerome Street with conditions. Staff report provided April 26, 2023. Council, what do you want to do? Everyone good, Shelley?
What's the next one?
Mayor? Councilman Brennan?
I always smile big because I know it won't happen. I'm going to make a motion to deny the recommendation and findings of facts to approve, not to approve, but to deny Eagle Nest preliminary plat consisting of 13.055 acres. Whoops, this is the zoning.
5, yeah.
Zoning, to deny the zoning of C4.
Mayor,
Councilwoman Garvey?
I just want to add just a couple thoughts on this and why I voted no. I get concerned. I realize I respect, I talked to Brock that apartment complexes are not wanted in a lot of spaces, so it is ultimately kind of a great place to put up an apartment complex. However, what I get concerned about is Air Base Road when it gets busy, it's busy. And to put such a development with such high density and the added traffic onto Airbase Road, we have a shop on Airbase Road, and sometimes it takes 20 minutes to pull out. And so I get a little bit concerned about adding such high density. Also, that is some of our prime commercial ground. While I understand that residential apartments are commercial, I get concerned that we are taking away some potentially, albeit we haven't had a lot of commercial coming here, but that's prime commercial ground for maybe some industry or some other types of things to come. So that's my reasoning. It's not that I'm against the housing complex. I always am appreciative of anybody that wants to build here. However, that's my reasoning for my nay vote.
Okay. So Councilman Brady made a motion.
Made a motion to deny it.
To deny the commission's recommendation of finding of fact zone C4 property. Is there a second?
I second it.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green?
Nay.
Councilman Bundy?
Nay.
Councilman Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Garvey?
Aye. Wait a second. What just happened? I voted already. I said a nay vote.
So you voted with Councilman Brennan to deny the zoning of C4?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, that's what I said. I was like, wait a second. What just happened?
I vote.
Yes, nay.
I vote nay. Do I hear another?
Just so she knows,
She's
Garvey actually voted aye.
She voted aye.
Because she was the maker of the motion.
Oh, right.
She had it reversed.
He was the maker of the motion to deny.
Negative makes it positive.
Right. Okay. Council, we got time. What do you want to do?
So, we're on to 6, right?
No, 5, so.
It's just dead.
It's dead.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of finding a fact to zone C4 property located south of Airbase Road between South 14th Street and Jerome Street with conditions.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? My discussion is this, gentlemen. I agree with Councilman Garvey. It's a huge density project on an airbase road, but I'll tell you this, and everybody knows me, I'm for small government. It's your ground. I believe that you should do with your ground. I mean, I don't want you putting a pig farm next to a residential farm. I think Councilman Brennan has very strong warrants of safety, which I agree. So if you can do him a solid somewhere down this road, I think that behooves. That's a win for everybody and your residents. So with that, it's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Brennan?
Nay.
Councilman Garvey?
Nay.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
And based on their willingness to put in that 25-foot easement, which I believe that they'll do, I vote aye.
And I vote aye. We're on down to action item number 6. Deliberation decision on Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of findings of facts to approve Eagles Nest preliminary plat consisting of 13.055 acres located south of Airbase Road between South 14th West Street and Jerome Street with conditions. Staff provided email April 26, 2023. Council, what do you want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
Just like to add the condition, if we could kind of go with what we've been doing, is that the building permit will be dependent upon water availability at the time the permit is drawn.
Copy.
Yeah.
Councilman Green?
I will make a motion to to accept Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation and finding of fact to approve Eagles Next preliminary plat consisting of 0.55 acres located south of Airbase Road between South 14th West Street and Jerome Street with conditions to include water availability
Water. It's all about water.
And the 25-foot easement.
And the 25-foot easement.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
This is a weird predicament. I feel like we're gonna get what I asked for, but I still don't like the development. Nay.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Nay.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye.
Mr. Mayor, point of clarification for the record. The easement is is it a emergency services easement only, correct? That was the intention.
Is that what you wanted?
That's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
If there's an easement there, then hopefully if it connects in the future, if and only if it connects in the future, then it can be used for that purpose. For the safety of the residents there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Run down to action item, action item 7, deliberation decision, Planning and Zoning Commission. Recommendation of finding as facts to amend city code by addition of chapter 1, title 9, section 7, chapter 3, title 9, section 2, chapter 7, title 9, section 4. The addition outright permitted city use of mountain home facilities and structures, provided definition for city facility structures, and update the zoning land use chart to illustrate all city-owned mountain home facilities and structures as permitted with conditions reported, provided via email on April 26, 2023. Council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I was waiting for anybody else to speak up. I'm going to hold the same stance I held on this during our work session, or our joint session with planning and zoning, is I still don't understand why the city needs to have essentially carte blanche authority to do whatever it wants without asking its citizens. I think it still behooves us to follow the current ordinance, and if we want to build something, if we want to place a sign, if we want to place a sign and call it art, if we want to do whatever, like, I think it's still in it's in the citizens of our community's best interest for us to have public hearings when required by the current ordinance. There's not 1 ounce of my bone that thinks the city shouldn't report to its people and ask permission for a lot of the things that we do.
Copy that.
Mayor?
Councilwoman Garvey?
My thoughts are that I don't know that we always need to ask what the city needs to do, because sometimes the city just needs to do stuff to operate. However, I do agree that the city should not have just all okay to do whatever without having a public the public's information, or the public's asking, because we may not always be doing the right thing. So I think, and having the public's opinion is not always the worst thing. It's a pain, but yes, I agree.
Okay. So with that, council, what do you guys want to do?
Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I'd like to ask a question, if Councilman Bundy, if you're still willing to answer. How does the state do this in terms of the state developing on their own ground? Maybe, I don't know how much of their own ground they have, but building a state-owned building within a municipality or a county, like, do they still have to follow ordinances of the local government?
There are some exceptions, but they're there.
I know I'm not exactly comparing the same thing, because I guess the state is, I don't know, the state and the city are 2 different government bodies, but ultimately I think they still ask the people of that area for permission. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor?
Councilman Brennan.
I'd like to make a motion to deny Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation and finding of facts for adding Chapter 1, Title 9, Section 7, Chapter 3, Title 9, Section 2, and Chapter 7, Title 9, Section 4, that whole section.
Okay.
I'll second it.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mayor.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Also, just a quick add to that, it's really not hard to have a public notice. Whether it may not be in the favor of what the city wants to do, having a public notice just does our due diligence to make sure that we are still listening to the people of Mountain Home, and it's not really a difficult process. So I'm fully in support of the denial.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing not, I will call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey?
Or excuse me, nay, I apologize, nay.
Councilman Green?
Point of order. Based on her comments, I believe she wants to vote in favor of the motion.
Yes, I apologize.
Yeah, good.
I am so tired. I am so sorry, guys.
You're good. Councilman Brennan?
Aye. Voting to deny.
Okay. Councilman Bunny?
Aye.
Okay. Run down to ordinances. Action item ordinances 1772 annexation of .536 acres parcel RP03S06E352535.
So I have to remember how this is worded, but I would like to suspend the rules and have these ordinances read one time.
By title only.
By title only.
First and only time.
First and only time.
Alrighty. Now you got me thrown off
I
here.
didn't have it in here. I was like,
So there's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilor Brennan?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
Councilman Green?
Aye.
All right, Tiff, please read the title. The ordinance, sorry.
An ordinance annexing to the city of Mountain Home, Idaho, the real property hereinafter described and declaring the same by proper legal description thereof and be part of said city of Mountain Home, Idaho, and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Bundy?
Aye.
Councilman Brennan?
I apologize. One quick question. Did we get all the legal paperwork for this to be official and recorded?
We did.
Okay. Aye.
Councilwoman Garvey?
Aye.
All right, run down to ordinance number 2, action item, ordinance 1773, zone C4 property of .536 acres of parcel. It's the same parcel, RP. Do you want me to read it out? Okay. Tiff, do I hear a James? Do you want me to read it? Okay. RP03S06E352535. James? Council, sorry, Councilwoman Green.
Councilwoman Green, thanks.
Sorry, Councilman Green.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Council person, how about that?
So again, I'd like to suspend the rules and have this item read by title only for its first and only reading.
Second.
It's been motion, or there's a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
All right, Tiff, please read the ordinance.
An ordinance of the city of Mountain Home, Idaho declaring the real property hereinafter described to be C4 heavy commercial zone subject to limitations and allowed use, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewithin and providing an effective date.
Council, you've heard this ordinance read. Do you wish it to pass? Councilwoman Garvey.
Aye.
Councilman Bundy.
Aye.
Councilman Brennan.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
All right, we'll run down to recognizing persons in the audience. Anybody like to get up and speak? Hearing or seeing none? We'll run final comments. Council, got anything good for the order?
Mayor.
Councilman Green?
I just want to say thank you to Brock for bringing in Vitruvian for the Looking Glass Academy. It was very eye-opening, as well as the citizens and stakeholders of the community that took their time out to attend to that academy as well.
Okay. Awesome. With that, we will close down shop.